Hey guys, it's Bethany, your crafty BFF, and today I am on with a requested tutorial. My friend and subscriber Susan, hi Susan if you're watching, I saw my project share on this little mini album with a gift box and asked me to do a tutorial for it. So I said, of course I can do that. Um, so disclaimer before we get started. This box, I loosely followed a tutorial by Rosa Kelly Scrapbooking here on YouTube. Um, I say loosely followed her tutorial because it's made exactly the same, but I did different measurements. So this is a bigger box than the one that she created, but I will link her tutorial down in the description box, just to give credit where credit is due. Um, so the box was totally her idea, but I did resize it. So I'll be doing the tutorial for the box in part 2 of this tutorial. I believe it's going to be a 2 or 3 part tutorial, especially if you guys want me to do the matting um, of the mini album in the box, then that will be all in part 3. So let me know if you want me to go over the um, pattern paper mats for each part of the box and mini album, and I'll be happy to do that. Okay, so you take this lid off the top, and the box, the front will fall down, like kind of like an explosion box, but not really. But it's so that you have plenty of room to take your mini album out of the box. And this is how it looks inside. Like I said, we'll be covering the box in part 2. In part 1, we will be making this very simple mini album slash embellishment book that I created. I just came up with my own measurements and created it myself. So I didn't follow a tutorial or anything. Just like I said, I made it. So this is a 6.5 by 8.5 inch album. The spine is 2.5 inches wide. This embellishment keeps falling out from this back page, but this is a pretty simple one. It does have a seam binding closure, which you can choose to put in or not. You don't have to have a seam binding closure, but here on the front inside um, cover, there's a flap with a pocket. Then each of the pages are just plain flat pages. It's not very interactive, but I just stuck my embellishments on with some removable adhesive dots, and then each pocket is a pocket page, so there's plenty of room to put extra goodies. Here's pages 2 and 3. Like I said, they're all just flat pages that I stuck embellishments to with removable adhesive dots. And again, each page is a pocket page. There's this one, and then the only other special feature is this back inside cover has this side loading pocket, like this. I scrap lifted this idea from Rosa Kelly on another one of her tutorials, and I've really been liking to add this side loading pocket in the back because you can store all your extra photos in there or whatever you want to store. So that is the overview of the project we're going to create today, and we will get started. So you're going to need some chipboard. I went ahead and I've cut everything, but we will assemble everything together. You need one piece for your spine that's 2.5 inches by 8.5 inches. And then you need a front and back cover, so 2 pieces that measure 6.5 inches by 8.5 inches. If you've seen any of my tutorials before, you know what we're going to do. We're going to take some 65-pound cardstock, and we're going to tape 2 pieces together. I'm going to use my 3/8 of an inch tape here. You can use your 1/2 inch tape, whatever you have. But I'm just going to line this up. I'm going to press this down so it gets nice and stuck. I need a pokey tool. Here's one. I like to add wet adhesive to my double-sided tape to give me an extra second to line my papers up as neatly as I can. Because with the double-sided tape alone, you have one chance and one chance only to get it stuck down right. With that wet adhesive, it gives you a little more wiggle room. So here we go. I'm putting these two papers together like so. And let's see if this is going to be enough. We might have to do a third. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tape a third piece to make this 3 pieces long, and then we'll just trim off the excess. So now on this second sheet, I'm adding another piece of double-sided tape, removing the back with my pokey tool, and adding my wet adhesive to give me more wiggle room when attaching this third piece of 65-pound cardstock. You always want to wrap your chipboard in 65-pound cardstock because it's more flexible. If you wrap it in 110-pound cardstock, you will run into issues with it cracking. So here are my 3 pieces of 65-pound cardstock all taped together and ready to go to wrap around my chipboard. Some people like to do double-sided tape on their chipboard. I'm just going to do my wet adhesive. If you're new at this, I suggest lining up your pieces so that where you attached the 2 pieces of paper runs in the middle of your front and your back chipboard piece. So your 2 big pieces, you want those attached, where the paper is attached, to be kind of in the middle of the front and back pieces of chipboard, so that there is no issues with it coming apart. If you kind of line it up so that it's good, and you just don't want, what you don't want is to, like, say, have this here and then have your spacing in between your two pieces of chipboard be close to this, to where you attached the paper, because then it's going to fall apart easier. So like I said, I'm putting, hopefully you can see this. This is where the paper meets, and it's good, and it's good inside this front piece of chipboard, and this one is right here, and it's good and inside this piece of chipboard, if that makes sense. I like to leave about 1 inch to 1.5 inches on the top and bottom of my cardstock. Try to line that up as straight as I can get it. And then we're going to do, I'll press this down with my bone folder, and then I will add this piece of my chipboard here to the right of my spine, leaving about 1/8 of an inch gap in between my 2 pieces of chipboard. So about like that. Line that up nice and straight and press down with my bone folder. And you'll have quite a bit of excess on the sides, and that's okay. We're just going to trim that away. No big deal. I'd rather have too much than not enough to wrap the chipboard, if you know what I mean. You want it nice and secure. So here I added my glue to my front cover now. And again, I'm going to leave 1/8 of an inch gap between my 2 pieces of chipboard. about like that. Well, maybe we'll get it. There we go. Looks pretty good. I'm just going to press this down to get it nice and stuck to the paper. I like that I have a good inch here at the top and a good inch here at the bottom. Now I'm going to do about an inch to an inch and a half on this side and just use my scissors to cut it away. It doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to see this cut. So just do your best. Leave about an inch, inch and a half. And then do the same thing to this side. There's about an inch and a half on my left and right side. You can see that. And see, and this cut is not perfect at all, but it does not matter. It's gonna be fine. No one's gonna see that. So now I'm gonna start training my paper to wrap around my chipboard. Very gently pressing down on the top and then here on the bottom. Just gently pressing with my thumbs so that I don't get any cracking in my paper when it bends around the chipboard. I'm going to turn it to the side and do this side here, just gently pressing it over with my thumbs and then kind of creasing it down with my finger. And then finally do the same thing to this side. Just training that paper, working it in, whatever you want to call it, to get it nice and flexible around that cardstock. Okay, once you have all 4 pieces worked in, we're going to cut our corners away. Now, we want to leave about an 1/8 of an inch space from the tip of your corner to where you cut. So you want to leave, like I said, about an 1/8 of an inch space right here from the tip of your chipboard to where you cut, like so. We're going to do that the same on all 4 corners. Make sure you leave that 1/8 of an inch space there so that when you go to fold your chipboard, no chipboard shows in your corners. If you cut it too close, the chipboard will stick out and it won't look good. So again, there's that 1/8 of an inch space. And one more time. Okay. I'm just going to do some test folding, make sure everything's nice and covered, and it is. So now, just going to add a little bit of glue there because that little edge is trying to come up. That happens sometimes. Now I'm going to take my 3/8 inch tape, double-sided tape, and I'm going to start putting it on the edges of my paper. I do one here on the very edge, and then I do one here close to the chipboard. A 1/2 inch tape will work just fine for this as well, whatever you have. I just don't have a 1/2 inch right now, so I'm using my 3/8 of an inch, which is just an 1/8 of an inch shy of a 1/2 inch. So, you know, same difference. I'm going to do this to all 4 sides. Said one close to the edge and then one close to the chipboard. Now I'm going to take my bone folder and press down on the backing of that double-sided tape to get it nice and stuck down. That way the tape stays on the paper and the backing comes off without fighting me. Just makes my life a whole lot easier to make sure I press down on the back of the double-sided tape. So there we go. Now we're going to remove I'm going to start here on the bottom and remove the backing of the double-sided tape. You see how nice and easy that comes off. Now, if you have any tape, double-sided tape hanging over your edge of your sides here, just make sure you tuck it back on top of itself, because you don't want any double-sided tape. You don't want any double-sided tape sticking off on your edges, because the tiniest little piece of lint or whatever will find its way and stick to it. I like to use my wet adhesive on top of my double-sided tape for some added security, and I'm just going to go ahead and bend this over. Now that we've worked the paper in and it's nice and trained, I'll take my bone folder and press down. Now I'm going to flip to the top, remove my tape, the backing of the tape, add my wet adhesive on top of the double-sided tape and in the center, just kind of haphazardly here. If you're one of those people that just double-sided tape works for you, then by all means just use your double-sided tape or just use your wet adhesive. Like I said, I like both for some added security. Pressing down with my bone folder. Now I'm going to do one of the sides here. Remove the tape. Add my glue. And before I fold this over, I'm going to tuck in these little corners. I'm going to bring this up close so you can see. There's a little corner here that sticks out. And if you use just the edge of your fingernail, or you can use a bone folder, you just want to tuck that little corner in so that it doesn't create a sharp point when you fold the paper over. If you fold it over like this, you see how this side is really sharp, where this side I tucked in and it's not sharp. So that's why we tuck in our edges here. I'm just using my fingernail. Like I said, you can use your bone folder too, just to tuck that little edge in. And then fold that over and press down. Now finally, we'll do our last side. I'm going to, again, tuck in these little corners, just using my fingernail. That one and that one. Add my wet adhesive. And fold it over. Okay. Before I bend this, I like to let it dry. I like all that wet adhesive to have a good chance to dry. So I'm going to set this aside and we're going to work on our hinges next. So for your hinges, you want to also use 65-pound cardstock because it's nice and flexible. If you use 110-pound, it will crack and it doesn't allow you to flip the pages as freely. So definitely use 65-pound for your hinges. So for your hinges, you need a piece of 65-pound cardstock that measures 7 7/8 inches by 9 inches. That's 7 7/8 inches tall by 9 inches long. You see that there? You're going to put it on your scoreboard on the 9-inch side. and we're going to do some scoring. We're going to score at 1.5, 2.25, 3, 3 3/4, 4.5, 5.25, 6, 6 3/4, and 7.5. And that is our hinges. This is going to give us 3 hinges. And now what we're going to do, I know it's hard to see on this white cardstock, but you're going to come to your first score line and skip over it. You're going to go to the second score line and bend it in a mountain fold. See, so it's a mountain. I'm going to press this together like so, and then I'm going to fold it forwards and use my bone folder to crease it down. Bend it backwards and crease down over here. Please excuse the dog hair. My brother has 2 dogs, and if you follow my channel, you'll know that we're staying with my brother temporarily. So anyways, there's dog hair everywhere. So now you have your first mountain fold. You're going to come to the next score line, and you're going to skip it, and you're going to go to this score line and do another mountain fold. I'm going to bend it forward and crease it, bend it backwards and crease it. So then your paper should look like this. You should have a mountain, valley, mountain. Then you have another valley. So you're going to skip this one. You're going to skip the next score line and go to this second to last score line and again do another mountain fold. Mountain fold. I'm going to bend it forwards and crease it, and then bend it backwards and crease it. And this just helps you get the flexibility for your hinges to go back and forth when you're flipping through your book. So now your paper should look like this. You should have a 1.5 inch valley, mountain, 3/4 inch valley, mountain, 3/4 inch valley, mountain, and then another 1.5 inch valley on the end. Okay. If you flip this over to the back, we are going to add some double-sided tape. To all of our mountain folds so that they'll stick together. So you'll do the first one, skip 2 and 3, do the 4th, skip 5 and 6, and do the 7th. I'm going to press down that double-sided tape. I am going to remove that first backing. This, like as per usual, I like to use my double-sided tape and my wet adhesive. So I'm just putting my wet adhesive over the double-sided tape, and then I'm going trying to get that dog hair off. I'm going to fold this over to make my first mountain folds stick together like that. Like so. Use my bone folder to really press it down and get it stuck together. Then we'll go to the next piece of tape, remove the backing, add our wet adhesive, and fold that second mountain together. Just pressing these down And then your paper should look like this. You should have 2 hinges. And now flip it back to the back. Remove your third piece. Here, I should do it the same way I've been doing it. So remove your third piece. Add your wood adhesive. And then fold that over. I'm going to press that down. Now you have these 3 hinges. Make sense? I hope so. So now before we move any further, we're going to add our double-sided tape to our hint to both sides of all 3 hinges. And that is where we're going to add our pages later on. So again, I'm going to use my 3/8 of an inch tape and sticking to the very top of the hinge. I'm going to put my tape as close to the top of the hinge as I can. You don't want the tape to come all the way down here to the bottom, because then your pages will not fold back and forth freely. Okay, so you want to leave some space between the tape and the bottom crease where your mountain and valley come together. For example, we're putting it here, like I said, along the top of the hinge. So you can see here, let me press that down real quick. You can see here I have the edge of my hinge right here, and then I put my tape, my 3/8 inch tape, and then there is space between where the tape stops and the crease of the mountain and valley. Right? The crease is what I'm folding back and forth, and you want to leave that good 1/4 inch of a space there between the tape and the valley. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm adding this tape to the very top edge of my hinge. And I'm going to press that down with my bone folder. Then moving on to the second hinge, I'm going to do the same thing. The very top edge, leaving a nice 1/4 inch space between the end of my tape and where my mountain and valley meet. Now I'm doing the back of the second hinge, because you want your page to stick to both sides of your hinge. And varnish that down, my bone folder. And then add our double-sided tape to this third hinge. Again, making sure I stick to that very outside edge, the top edge of your hinge. Last one, very edge. Lay that down and varnish. There we go. And that is what your hinges should look like, all finished. Although we're not all finished, because we're going to go ahead and add double-sided tape to the back. This is where it's going to stick into your book, and I prefer to do double-sided tape and wet adhesive to make sure that it is nice and stuck inside of my chipboard covers, and there's no chance it's going to fall out. So I'm just adding double-sided tape everywhere I can get it. Cover, as much surface as I can with my little 3/8 inch tape. If you have a bigger tape, you could use that. There we go. And then when I go to add this into my book, like I said, I will add wet adhesive on top of my double-sided tape. Because we don't take no chances around here. Well, hello, Reagan. Did you want to say hello?
Hi.
I'm doing a tutorial.
I just got back from my nana seeing little kittens.
Yeah, little kittens.
And then a doggy.
And the doggies. Okay, guys. Now that we're done with our hinges, our chipboard cover should be nice and dry. Like I said, I like to make sure that the wet adhesive dries completely before I do the next part, which is starting to bend the covers up together. So I like to take a soft bone folder, not a metal score tool, but a soft bone folder, and start to crease in between where the chipboard comes together, and then slowly start to work it in, because you don't want to risk it cracking. So there you go. There you have it. Now it opens and closes nicely, lays flat, and this is where we will put our hinges in. Now, you want to make sure that you have enough, about the same amount of space.
Can I use the microwave real quick, or is it too loud?
That's fine.
Okay.
Reagan's going to use the microwave, everybody, so sorry if you hear it in the background. Okay. Now, like I was saying, you want to leave the same amount of space on the top and bottom, and then you want the same amount of space on both sides of the hinge as well. So you want to try to line it up in the middle as best you can. Considering the top and bottom and the left and right. You should be able to see on yours, maybe not on mine because mine's all in white, but where those crease marks are, so you can get a good idea of where to lay this hinge mechanism down. Once you get a good idea of that, then you can remove the double-sided tape on the back. Go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to add my wet adhesive all along the outside edges of my hinge system, and then all over the double-sided tape as well, because double adhesive, it's stronger and I trust it a lot more than just one adhesive on its own. So there we go. Okay. Now we're going to get this nice and lined up, top and bottom and left and right. Best we can do. Make sure it's nice and straight, and lay it down. I'm going to take my bone folder and start pressing here on the wings. I call these the 1.5 inches on both sides of the hinges. I call those the wings. So we're going to press those down, and then you want to make sure that you get any air bubbles out of your hinge, out from underneath your hinge system. So this is also another chance to work in your hinges to make sure they fold nicely to the left and to the right, like so. But then also pressing that down and getting any air bubbles out. If you have air bubbles, then it's more likely that your hinge system will try to come out of your book. Yeah, there's a big air bubble right here. I'm pressing that out. There we go. There we go. Now we're going to add our hinge holder inners or hinge holders, whatever you want to call them. I am now switching to 110-pound cardstock. So you want 2 pieces of 110-pound cardstock that measures 6 3/8 by 8 3/8. And we're going to glue them in like so. This not only covers your chipboard, but it helps to hold your hinge system inside of your mini album / embellishment book. So I'm just adding my wet adhesive all over. I'm going to line this up here with the very outside edge of my cover, making sure not to overlap the gap between my chipboard, because you don't want more paper. The less paper you have going over that gap, the better. So if you can see here on mine, there's a good 1/8 of an inch space between the gap in my chipboard and where I laid this piece of cardstock down. And then just pressing that down. Adding this piece here. Again, this one is also 6 3/8 by 8 3/8 inches. And I'm going to line this one up with the right side of the outside edge of my chipboard. And I'm pressing it down. And again, I left a good 1/8 of an inch space between that gap in my chipboard and that 110-pound cardstock. That is helping to hold in our hinge system. Okay. Now, I like to let this completely dry before I work in these, because we're going to have to work these in again where we fold our book. So while we let that wet adhesive completely dry, we will work on our pages. So set that cover aside again. And again, using 110-pound cardstock now, you need 3 pieces that measure 6 inches by 8 inches. And you need 3 pieces that measure 6 inches by 9 inches. We're not going to do any scoring to our 6 by 8s, so set those aside. On your 6 by 9s, we're going to score them all 3 the same. We're going to set them on our scoreboard on the 9-inch side, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch on both sides. Set 1/2 inch, flip it around to the other 9-inch side, and score at 1/2 inch again. Or if you want, you can do a 1/2 inch and 8.5 inches. Same thing. Whatever you prefer. Ooh. 1/2 inch and 8.5. And we're going to fold and crease these score lines. On our 3 6 by 9 inch pieces. And then once you do that, then you'll have another piece of 6 by 8. So your one piece of your 6 by 8 will fit right on top of these 2 score marks. So you're going to bend these score marks over You're going to add your adhesive of choice. I'm just using my wet glue, my Bearly Arts. And then I'm going to line this 6x8" page right on top of this scored 6x9. Like so. And I'm going to press down to make sure they get nice and stuck together. Make sure they're lined up nicely as best as I can get them.
I have a very serious question.
What?
What you making?
A mini album. This mini album, to be exact. Now I'm pressing down these 2 1/2-inch score lines, adding my Bearly Arts wet adhesive, and I'm going to take one of my 6x8s and line it up right on top of these scored edges. And this makes our pocket pages. So it'll look like that. I'm pressing down with my bone folder. There we have it. And now we just have one more to do. Lining that up the best I can get it. Pressing down to make my pocket page. Like so. So you should have 3 of those. Those are our pages. You can bring your cover back in. And again, I do not recommend using a metal score tool for this. I recommend using a soft bone folder. You're going to find your crease where your chipboard meets together, and you're going to start kind of working that in, rubbing back and forth, and then you can slowly start bending that up so that your paper does not crack. If you just all of a sudden went like that, it could crack this and then you'd have to start all over, and it's no fun. So I definitely recommend a soft bone folder to do this part. Can I help you, Reagan?
Sorry, I was wondering if I could help too.
If you could help, if you go wash your hands.
Okay. You said my hands are dirty?
You just ate, so I'm pretty sure they are. And so I've creased that, and now I'm going to start working this in like this. And there we have it. Ooh, my cord's in the way. There is our completed cover, except it's not completed because we still got to put in our front and back pockets and flaps. If you remember, in our front, we're going to do this bottom pocket and this top flippy flap here in the front, and then in the back we're going to do this pocket, the side loading pocket here with this flap here. And those are magnetic closures. You can use Velcro if you don't have magnets, but yeah, either way.
Oh, look at the skin difference.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's start with our front pocket and flap. We are going, I already have it cut.
Of course, of course.
But we need to do some scoring. So you want to do the scoring for me, Reagan?
Sure.
Okay. So for your front inside cover pocket, you need a piece of 4.5 inches by 7 3/8 inches. You're going to score it on 3 sides at 1/2 inch. So you're going to score 1/2 inch there.
Right here?
Nope, this one right here.
Okay.
Right there.
Sorry, okay. Okay. Oh, my bad.
way down. Ooh, let me fix it. There we go.
There we go. Sorry, I got scared, y'all.
It's okay. Then you're going to turn it to the 4.5 inch side, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch again.
Oh,
and then turn it back to the 7 3/8 inch side and score at 1/2 inch one more time. And that makes a pocket. For your flap, you need a piece that is 5 inches by 7 inches. And on the 7 inch side, we're going to score at 1/2 inch. Do you want to score at 1/2 inch this time?
Yeah.
You think you can do it this time?
Right here?
Yep. Almost.
Ooh. It's a bit lopsided, my bad.
It's okay. I'll fix it. There we go.
There we go. Okay, there we go.
Now, if you like the rounded flap look, now is the time to round your corners. I'm going to do that now.
Can I do one?
You can do the next one, okay? Okay, now we need to cut the corners off our pockets. We're going to get rid of this square and this square here. And I'm just going to cut at a diagonal like so. So it looks like that. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. So it looks like that. Then we're going to fold and crease our score lines. Again, fold and crease this flap. And now we can glue it into our front cover, front inside cover. I'm going to start down here with the bottom pocket, lining it up here with the outside edge, staying a good 1/8 of an inch away from our crease in our chipboard. Add your adhesive of choice. I just use my Bearly Art. Some people like to use the double-sided tape, but the double-sided tape just doesn't work for me. It never stays stuck. So I like my Bearly Arts. You're darn tootin'. So there is that. I just added that pocket in, creasing, pressing down so the glue gets nice and stuck. And then you're going to line up your top flap, leaving about the same amount of space on both sides here. Add your glue to your little flap, to your 1/2 inch score mark, I should say. And again, lining that up in the middle. Pressing that down, and then for my flaps, I like to open them up and press down on the inside as well. So it should look like that. If you're going to add magnets, you want to add your magnets before you add your pattern paper. If you're using Velcro, add your Velcro after you add your pattern paper. Okay, for the back inside pocket and flap. Okay, for the pocket, you need a piece of 9 3/8 inches by 5 inches. Reagan is still here, just being quiet.
Hi, sorry, my bad. Doing stuff.
Doing stuff on the computer. Okay, here is our 9 3/8 inches by 5 inch pocket. On the 9 3/8 inch side, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch. Flip it to the 5 inch side, score at 1/2 inch. And then flip it to the other 9 3/8 inch side and score at 1/2 inch. I'm going to fold and crease these score lines. We're going to cut our corners off. So again, I'm just going to do a nice straight diagonal cut like that. And then on the other side as well. And then for your flap, you need a piece that is 8 3/8 inches tall by 4 inches wide. On the 4-inch side, you're going to score at a 1/2 inch. You guessed it, a 1/2 inch.
Yep.
Fold and crease. Okay, you want to round the corners? No, you got to do this side.
Okay.
Pay attention. Okay. Now do this one.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll move this stuff out of the way.
Oh,
sorry. I hit Reagan's elbow. And now we're going to add our side loading pocket here, lining it up on the left side and making sure that you leave a good 1/8 of an inch space between your edge of your pocket and where the chipboard bends, because you don't want any more paper on that. You don't want to prevent your cover from closing. Add your adhesive of choice. Line my pocket up, press it down. Make sure it's nice and straight. Or as straight as we can get it anyways. Nothing's ever perfect in paper crafting. And then we can add our flap right here. Just add your glue to that 1/2 inch tab. And then line this up to the very right side of the back cover.
What's next?
Don't be confused because my writing's upside down. It's fine.
Please don't be confused and get my mom sued.
No, nobody's gonna sue me. I do these for free. Okay, and then I'm gonna open that up and press this down. And then again, I'll add my magnet here before I add my pattern paper, or add my Velcro after I add my pattern paper. Let's go ahead and add our pages in to our book, and we will call this part 1 done. Donezo.
How many parts?
It's gonna be at least 2 parts, maybe 3.
What are we gonna do after this? Are you gonna take a break?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh.
Okay. No. Okay. So you're gonna take your pages that we already assembled, and we are going to take our first hinge and remove the double-sided tape from both sides. Then I'm going to add my Fairly Arts, because once again, I don't trust double-sided tape by itself. I like double-sided tape and my Fairly Arts as a backup so that nothing falls out of my very I did all this work. I don't want it falling apart. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm lining this up as straight as I can, making sure I cover all of that double-sided tape, but also leaving space because I want my page to freely flow. If the page comes too far down the hinge, it will not flow freely from the left to the right. So there's that. No, I don't need any baby powder. I'm sure. So now I'm removing the backing of my double-sided tape on my second hinge, adding my wet adhesive on both sides, taking my second page, and I just open it up like this, slide it on the top, and then slide it on the bottom, and it should just barely fit on there. I designed it to just barely fit on there. And then I'm sliding it down, making sure I leave a nice amount of space away from that crease. Make sure it's nice and straight. Flip it over and press down on this side. And then finally do this last and final hinge. Add my glue on top of my double-sided tape. And add in my last page. Just kind of pop it open there. And slide it on top and then slide it on bottom. And line it up as straight as I can get it. And press down.
I'm gonna ditch y'all, sorry.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And there we have it, guys. That is part 1 of this tutorial. Like I said, I will be back in part 2 to show you how I created this box that this mini album fits in. Ooh, sorry, knocked the tripod. Show you how I made this box that fits this album perfectly. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I will get back to you. If there's any step that you need extra help on, you could also DM me on Instagram, and I would be happy to help there. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.